Welcome to the Talking Phase podcast, where relationships, dating, and personal growth take center stage. From the highs and lows of dating to the triumphs and tribulations of relationships, no topic is off limits. Tune in for laughter, tears, and insights that will leave you feeling seen, heard, and inspired. It's time to get real, get honest, and get talking. Now, here are your hosts, Pam and Tom.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Talking Phase podcast. Pam, how you doing today?
I am doing awesome today, Tom. How are you doing today?
I am doing so well. If I were any better, I'd have to be twins.
Oh,
all right.
Geez, that's great.
Well, so this week on this show, we have a real treat. It's our first ever episode with a guest. And because we do things big here, we're having two guests. So we're going to be catching up with an old friend of mine named Mark, who was on my old podcast, My Crazy Divorce, and his beautiful fiance, soon to be lovely wife, Vicky. Before we meet Vicky and before Mark gets on the show, I'm going to catch up a little bit with Pam. Anything that you want to share real quick with everybody before we jump into the show?
Well, I'm really excited about the interview. About talking to them today. And as far as what's going on with me, it's been kind of a slow week. We are working our way towards Father's Day, which, I know that a lot of dads feel like they don't get the credit that moms do, but my mom passed away a couple of years ago. And so my dad definitely gets all the credit. And I get very excited about spending Father's Day with him. And, we have him over and we will make a nice meal for him. And this year he's bringing his girlfriend. It's kind of a new thing. So we are going to introduce her to Father's Day, our style. I've gotten to meet her a couple times. It's kind of nice to see him opening up and having a new relationship. It's been a long road for him to get there. And so this year, Father's Day feels extra special also because my kids will be here to celebrate with him. And it's just going to be a great time. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's all great. I really have going on this week. What about you?
Well, two quick things. I went and saw the new Planet of the Apes movie the other day. Don't bother. I think I fell asleep twice, but I can't remember for sure. So just don't bother. And as far as fathers are concerned, my mom passed away 8 years ago. So again, my dad has been, the only parent that I have left. And I will be flying to Utah in September for his 93rd birthday party.
Wow. So, happy birthday to your dad. Wow. Yeah. 93.
Very cool. Yeah. He's a great guy. Okay. With that, we're going to jump right in, guys. Before we bring Mark and Vicky on, a couple of things we need to go over always. Thank you, all of you out there, for listening. Thank you for your ratings. Thank you for your reviews. Please keep it up. I don't think anyone truly understands how it works, but there's some algorithm out there that ratings and reviews is what gets people to listen. And of course, make sure you share this with your friends and family, and join us every Friday for a brand new episode of the Talking Phase podcast. So for the last couple of weeks, we've been telling listeners to go listen to an episode of My Crazy Divorce. It's a former podcast that I used to run. The second to last episode is called Muscle Memory. If you haven't listened to that either now or after this episode, go back and find it. Go listen to that because it will help you understand some of the crazy shit that Mark went through that got us to this point.
I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed his story.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. It involves all sorts of weird shit about Mormonism, living in Utah, getting married really fast.
Three ways.
Shiite Mormons.
Right. Yeah. Shiite Mormons. Yeah. So there's a lot that
Shiite Mormons doing 3 ways.
Right. Yeah. So it's something that'll help you understand kind of what we're talking about today. So with that, you'll know that Mark and I really hit it off during that episode. Turns out that he's arrested. He's a cop, and he works in a town just south of Salt Lake City, and he has arrested someone very close to me twice. And what's funny is this person he's arrested thinks Mark is awesome. So
clearly let him go.
He did not.
Oh,
Yes. Anyway, with that, let's get right to it. Mark is a great guy. I'm really excited to hear the update and kind of his glow up story, and also to get to know Vicky a little bit. I met her one time years ago, but it'd be great to get her story on there. So, Pam, you ready to jump right in?
I am. I'm looking forward to it.
Outstanding. Well, let's bring Mark and Vicky on right now.
All right.
Okay. So great to see you again, Mark and Vicky. It's great to see you.
Awesome.
Likewise.
Thank you for having me, Tom, Pam.
Thanks for being on the show.
Very nice to meet you both today.
All right. So let's just get going here. Mark, it's been a couple of years since the last time we really delved into your life. We've stayed in touch just a little bit over the last couple of years, but from your interview on My Crazy Divorce, we know that you were born in Canada, that you moved to Utah when you're 15. You went on that Mormon mission, which we talked about quite a bit on that episode. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about religion today because we did spend so much time on that during that show. But when you got home from your mission, you got married pretty quick, right?
Yeah, in true Mormon fashion, I was married within I think we went on our first date October-ish, engaged by December, married by March.
Bam.
Wow. Yeah, that's fast for Mormons.
Yeah.
That was like a Mormon on steroids thing. And how
Right.
old were you?
So I'm 21. Yeah, I have to think back now, but yes, 21.
Okay. And you'd been home from your mission for how long?
Couple months. I think I got home in August.
Oh, man. So you go from riding your bike, pedaling around the Philippines, to getting married all in 8 months.
Right. Yep. Now I did know her for many years before. She was my best friend's little sister. So not
Quit making
in
excuses. Come on.
right, not in the crazy Mormon fashion of a blind date to marriage, but we never dated before, so it was still very quick.
He was just listening outside of the room during the sleepovers.
That's right. Okay. All right. So did you have kids?
Did we have kids? Well, Tom, in true Utah Mormon fashion, I have 5 kids.
Sheesh.
Wow. Okay. Over how much time?
So 3 of them really quick. So our oldest daughter was born in 01. Then we had my son 03, my next daughter 04. And then we had a little bit of a, I guess you could say, hiatus in between. 4 more years until my next son was born, and then my youngest daughter 2 years after that. So there's a 10-year gap from the oldest to the youngest.
I have a 9-year gap between my kids, so I get that. How long were you guys married for?
So we were married in 2000, and divorce went final 2016. But things fell apart, obviously a few months before that. I would say,
As they do.
effectively 15 years of marriage is what I would call it.
That's a long time.
Some people said that my 18-year marriage was a good run. That's what they kept telling me. And I grew up when, my grandparents both did the 50-year anniversary thing. My parents did the 50-year anniversary thing. And so 18 years doesn't seem like a good run to me. But
No, and mine was 18 also. It did not feel like a good run compared to my family. My parents were 51 years also. So
yeah.
Well,
but it was a
Tom,
run.
In the thoughts of time and all eternity, which I know Tom will get that one. Yeah, 18 is just a little glimpse.
Just
Sure felt like a long time, I'll tell you that.
Exactly. Well, so all right, so you got divorced in 2016. Just real quick, again, we're not going to spend the whole night on your divorce because we're about to talk to Vicky about this too. Why'd you get divorced? I mean, there's never one reason, but what's the thing that you would label it?
I'd say the primary contributing factor would kind of be my struggling with Mormonism. I was starting to have doubts, questions. I wasn't a good Mormon priesthood holder. And so I would say that was the impetus of everything.
So
And of
not
course,
Mormon enough.
yeah, not Mormon enough. So that would be the main contributing factor.
Was she a good Mormon, or was she doing some things that were not making you very happy to stay married either?
Oh, she was by the book, 100% by the book. So
Wow,
yes,
that's
she was
great.
very good.
Yes.
Yeah. Since then, not to speak for her or on her behalf, she's kind of gone in and out over the past couple years. Whereas me, I am, yeah,
I'm out.
I'm a recovering Mormon. I'm a full recovering Mormon.
Love it. So she was a Shiite Mormon, and you were a soon-to-be ex-Mormon.
Exactly.
All right. Well, all right. That's awesome. That kind of gets us up to a certain point, but we need to go and talk to Vicky now, because Vicky, we don't have her story. She wasn't on the My Crazy Divorce podcast. So, Vicky, are you ready to jump in here?
Absolutely.
All right. So, just a spoiler alert for some people that are just joining us. Vicky and Mark are getting married in August. Do I have that right?
September.
Oh, what's the date?
September 19th.
Oh, well, okay. I got to change my flights. I'm going to be in Salt Lake
Congratulations.
Yeah,
the week
you
before
do.
that, so I'll have to stay a little bit later.
Yay.
That's great, because Mark already did invite me. I'm just not inviting myself, just so y'all know.
My
Um,
invitation got lost, clearly.
Well, so you guys are going to be married in September 19th. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Vicky, is this marriage number 1 for you?
No, this is
Okay.
marriage number 3 for me.
Whoa.
I hear
3?
that's the charm, though.
Yeah. Third time's the charm. I told Mark, I'm
Exactly.
not doing this anymore. That's it. We're done.
There
No
you
more.
go. That's great. And by the way, you guys, Mark just texted me while we're sitting here. He just texted me their wedding website. So
Nice. Of
that's
course he
funny.
did.
There you go.
Um,
Official.
that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's technology is a wonderful thing.
We'll have
All
your
right.
sheet
So,
ready for you.
oh, that's great. So talk to me about these first couple of marriages then. What
Yeah.
tell us a quick story.
Well, similar to Mark, I got married very young, 18, right out of high school, and we had 3 children together. I was divorced by the age of 25, so it was a very short marriage, and we had 3 children with him. It started out wonderfully. We were madly in love and just kind of rushed into things, and we were honestly too young to get married at that
Sure.
time. So, but after that, I stayed single for about 4 years. I did remarry a second time 4 years later. That marriage unfortunately ended when my spouse died. He
Oh,
died of an illness. So I found myself also a widow in my 30s. So divorced once, widowed, and yeah, and so I just thought, love is not in the cards for me. I'm
Boy, I
probably
know that
done.
feeling.
I'm done. I don't know what it is, but Cupid did not select me as person to have a long lasting marriage. But it's not something that ever really went away either. I was raised similar to Mark. I was a Jehovah's Witness. So having a family and a marriage, it's like all you ever are taught, and I really wanted that for a long time, that perfect family life, and so yeah, that just kind of stuck with me.
wow. We used to, when I was a Mormon missionary, we used to call you guys J-dubs.
Yes, J-dubs.
Yep.
Okay. Wow. I don't think I knew that you were a Jehovah's Witness. I just assumed because you lived in Utah that you were a Mormon. Um,
Yeah. No,
so
yeah.
what got you to Utah?
Honestly, I just needed a change. I from having so much tragedy, my father passing away in 2017, he helped me pretty much raise my kids all those years as a single mom, and the passing of my second husband, I just felt like I needed to find myself. This was not the place. California is all I'd ever known, and the people there, the family, the friends, the religion, I said, I need to get out of this place and start somewhere new and find myself. And so
apparently this is the
Utah,
place.
This
Utah
is the
sounded
place.
like a good time.
Utah.
A
So
double
great
meaning that I
economy
know
here,
Tom will
great
get.
economy. Yeah. So
Wow.
I moved
Okay.
here sight unseen, no family, no friends, just established a new residency here.
That's so brave.
Yeah.
Good for you. So you're like the opposite of the Beverly Hillbillies.
The opposite.
California is the place you ought to be.
Yeah. Right. Moved out.
That's how
Except
old I
not
am
for
that I can remember that.
Vicky.
All right. Well, that is insane. Thank you, by the way. And I guess I'm sorry that you had to go through all that, but at the same time, it got us to this point. So again, if it didn't all happen, you and Mark wouldn't be together, right?
Exactly. Everything happens for a reason. That's what we
Change
all
one thing, change everything.
exactly.
All right. So let's go back to Mark. Mark, so you're divorced. We're going back to your story now. I guess you're divorced right now too. So so, so you get divorced because you're not Mormon enough. And the divorce was, what did you say, 2016?
It went final beginning of 2016.
Okay.
I think like by March.
Then
I think it went final.
March. That's when my birthday is. So happy birthday to me. Mark got divorced.
Ah,
Okay. Then what?
Well, here I am deconstructing my Mormonism, but yet I do the most Mormon thing one could do. And I meet somebody, we start dating, and we get married by fall of 2016. So that would be my second marriage.
go
Now
speed racer.
right now she was in a similar place, I guess religiously, that I was in. We were kind of, both of us were 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But again, it was met, went on a couple dates. Those dates, we said, okay, we're in a relationship. Did that for a couple months. We're engaged. So then we get engaged, with never living with each other or never really spending a lot of time with each other. And here I am in marriage number 2.
Okay.
Which
So hold on. So Vicky waits 4 years and you wait 6 months.
Sounds right.
that 6 months be generous. Yeah.
So kind of
from the time I
addicted to
started dating,
relationship
yeah,
at
from
this
the
point.
from the time I started dating her, yeah, no, it wasn't even 6 months. It was a few months from the time I started dating her. I guess from one marriage ending to the next one, I'd say there was a year in between, because obviously it takes time for marriage to go final. So I guess where I see the marriage ending, until I got married for the second time, a year.
What's the hurry? What was your hurry?
As I explained to Tom in the last one, muscle memory. Yeah, I thought I knew who myself was, but anybody who has deconstructed a high demand religion, which, um, not to say it's different for anybody who's deconstructed something in their life, but a high demand religion such as Mormonism, or in Vicky's case, even with Jehovah Witnesses, it's all encompassing. It's every part of your life, and it takes years. Now, I was at that where I thought I was at a good point. And it was just I would just say ignorance, as far as not knowing who I am, not knowing the journey that was ahead of me. And then just, yeah, like I said, muscle memory. I didn't want to get divorced in the first one. That all fell apart really fast. It was definitely more brought on by her, and I didn't want to get divorced. And so there was a comfort in being married. There was, Vicky and I were just talking about it. There's also a level of being able to say, "Hey, look, I'm not worthless. Look, I found another girl right away." And yeah, so
Oh.
then got right into that marriage, and then
I think a lot of people do that too. Come out of relationships and jump right back into another relationship just to make themselves feel better, to fill their cup, so to speak.
Well, this is Brian popping in here. I mean, I used to weigh 385 pounds, and when I started to lose weight, that was kind of that was my divorce, right? It was divorcing the old Brian and the old fat Brian, and I was like, hey, where are the ladies at? So I get it. Like, I think that's just a natural kind of approach a lot of folks take when they either are divorcing or getting out of whatever was their norm.
Hey, I
Yep.
agree with Brian. I'm not saying I haven't done it. So I get it.
Congratulations, Brian. Same
Yeah.
here.
Oh, congrats! How'd you do it?
I was 285 pounds and I'm now at a comfortable 170. It took me about 4 years of diet, exercise, consistency, self love, and just all encompassing self care. But that was my heaviest. 2020 is when I started my journey, and I'm happy to say I'm 170 now. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Oh, congrats! That's
Congratulations.
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Thanks.
That is awesome. Okay, so Mark, when we last left your first marriage, you had 5 kids.
Yes.
Now you got married again to wife number 2.
Uh-huh.
What's the kid situation there?
So she had 2 kids, the same age as my 2 youngest, and they did well with each other. And it was it's one of those, as you look at it now, you can see all the pitfalls that were there that you didn't recognize at the time. But it was rushed, just plain and simple. It was rushed. But the kids generally did all right with each other. Uh, and the marriage started out like any marriage. You're just kind of living on that those butterflies in the stomach still. And real life with your past trauma hasn't quite caught up yet, which it certainly did, which led to my crazy divorce.
Exactly. And it was a crazy divorce. I'm going to put another plug in for that episode, My Crazy Divorce. You can find it anywhere you find your podcasts. And the episode is called Muscle Memory. So if you really should go back after you hear this podcast, go back and listen to that one. You'll get a lot more detail about this. We're just not going to rehash it all because it's all been out there. So, but
I
yeah,
listened to the
great
whole
episode.
thing though and found it completely fascinating.
And what's
Parts of it
crazy
were
is
really fascinating.
it's a thing here in Utah.
Yeah. What's the thing?
When I found out that people running off to become thruples, to say the
Okay.
least.
So if
That's
you're
a thing,
looking for a good throuple, Utah is your state.
right?
Yeah. If I recall correctly, you said that she had a midlife crisis and those were her words, not
Yeah.
yours.
Yep. And
And
I think a lot of it was just she hadn't fully healed from her marriage either. She had probably been divorced for, well, I think separated. We'll use that term because I think it took a while for her divorce to go final as well, but about a year, so a little longer than me. But her first marriage was, I would definitely say, a lot more toxic than mine. Her ex was a drug addict, and he was a drug addict during her and I's marriage together because we had to deal with the kids being over there and several different incidences happening. But and I think she just hadn't really healed from that. And then again, not to rehash the whole episode of our crazy divorce, but when we met some friends, she really took to them, became really good friends with them, and that's what led to her building this bond with both of them. Specifically, obviously, I think more the physical attraction with him, but she really just built a bond with them, and that's where it kind of all came crashing down. And she just up and left. I mean, just walked out of the marriage one day. There was no counseling, no working on anything. She just essentially just off she ran, which in many ways that divorce almost did more damage to me than the first one, which lasted for 15 years.
Wow. So did she go to be with that couple? Is that where she went?
I believe so. I don't know all the details there because she cut off all contact. I've never spoken with her before. I was forced to speak with the wife of that couple in order to facilitate logistics for the divorce. She was living with her at her mom's place, and then eventually moved up there. And I'll be honest, I didn't really bother or care to find out.
You didn't really want to know at that point.
I do know that she has since found somebody else and remarried, and I wish her the best, but
Yeah,
Fast,
hope they're happy.
fast
Yeah.
times, I
Yeah.
tell you, over there. So now you must be like super, super turned off to dating and marriage, right? Because
Yeah. Dating, not so much. But to marriage, I was just like, nope, done with it. It's not going to happen again. And so, I dipped my foot back into the dating world, but I think there was maybe some repressed that I never had by 20s. And so you could say I essentially went into the dating world and had what some like to call the hoe phase. And I experienced that for a bit.
was that a lot of fun for you? Or were you still looking for a wife?
No, I definitely wasn't looking for a wife.
You just
I
found
was definitely dating to have fun. And, there's definitely an element of that that can be unhealthy. But I think in my case, it was almost something needed. Um, I never went on to any dating sites or anything like that and tried to hide, hey, I'm looking for a long-term relationship. And no, I didn't play the game like that at all. I made it very clear, I'm just looking to date. And that's what I did. And with most of the girls I went out with, whether it was one date or a handful of dates or even a mini relationship, we always had good communication with what we're looking for. And that was just part of that journey that I think I needed to have. Um, I don't know if it would say purging that from my system. I don't know if that's the right phrase to use.
well.
So much as just experiencing a part of life that had always been withheld from me. I mean,
I was going to say it's a different kind of muscle memory.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
As Tom
Wow.
would, oh, well played. As Tom would
Sorry,
Yeah.
know,
that was just there.
yeah, within the Mormon context, it's there's very set expectations on how you date, when you date, and I guess it was almost part of that rebellion that I needed to have. It was all part of my deconstruction process, and in that, just finding myself. So uh, there was an element of it that was definitely healthy for me, but I didn't remain in that phase. But I used that phase to learn a lot about myself and a lot about what I'm looking for in a partner.
Any regrets about that phase?
There's always those people that were crazy in the sense like, wow, yeah, I'm not, but no really regrets, because every part about it just opened up a different part of myself, allowed me to learn more about myself, and definitely allowed me to learn more about women. um
I think that a
it,
lot
What
of people listening to our podcast right now are probably identifying pretty well with you and have gone through a hoe phase themselves. I'm not going to say if I've gone through a hoe phase, but I think that most people who come out of a long marriage or two tumultuous marriages, you know, would like a break from that type of reality and just want to let their hair down, so to speak, and get out there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think where it can be healthy, what I eventually started doing with it was using it to look. I'm not just trying to run around and get laid. If you're that person, yeah, that probably isn't going to be the healthiest thing for you. But uh, that was definitely an aspect, maybe in the early phases. But eventually, it became to I really want to learn more about women, more about myself, more about what it takes for a healthy relationship. And I always I became a guy at one point who I would help other guys with their dating profiles, because their dating profiles were horrible. And they would always say to me, like, how do you do that? How do you get so many dates? And I'm like, a lot of it is I just simply read what women put on theirs, because so many guys just
I've heard
swipe
about
right,
guys like you out there.
yeah. They see a pretty face, they swipe right. I actually read profiles,
Yeah.
and amazing how much you learn with that. And
He
I
did.
learned how to
He did.
structure my profile in a much better way, and started getting the dates that I wanted with the people that I wanted. because that was a big part of it before. I was matching with people who really I had no business matching with. But once I learned that process and actually started dating people that, okay, this is who I want to, this is the group of people that I want to have a relationship with, as far as they have what I'm looking for and I'm providing what they're looking for. We're on the right track here.
And it sounds like
So,
your brain was starting to think more seriously about relationships again and not just sleeping around.
but relationships for me, I think, was the big part. What I would say before then, and Vicky and I were just talking about this before we got on. My two marriages before were under the auspice of religion or expectations outside of myself. Not to say that I didn't love those women at the time I married them. Of course I did. But there was other mitigating factors that promoted those marriages. Whereas now I was actually looking for a relationship for me, discovering, well, this is now who I am. I'm learning who I am much more, and now I'm discovering what's going to fit into that. I think I mentioned earlier that the big mistake I made with both my marriages, who were very similar personalities to each other, uh, I thought that they were, and they were, opposite of me as far as personality. And my mindset was, well, they will balance me out. And maybe that does work for some people. It clearly didn't for me. Uh, uh, and one of the biggest realizations is, no, I need to find someone who matches me, who matches my type of personality, matches my energy, and that's what I ended up finding.
Okay, well, let's talk about finding Vicky, because Vicky, so you guys met, if I remember correctly, you met on Facebook dating, right?
Yes,
Thank you,
Facebook
Mark
Alright.
dating.
Zuckerberg.
So yes, thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. And so you see this highly polished dating profile. And my guess is there was not a dead fish picture or a gym picture, and no sunglasses or hats. Those
Those are
are what
my
I'm guessing.
favorites, though. Come
He did
on.
he did have one picture, he was in his uniform, so that was kinda nice, I
Oh,
liked it.
that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Not
So
I will
your
admit.
police uniform. That's see,
Yeah.
there you go. So Mark, I need to buy a police uniform and just act like I'm
Something
a
about a
cop,
That's
man
what
in
right?
you're doing
uniform, I
wrong.
don't know.
Yeah. I'm not
Well,
gonna lie.
okay.
Usually, I hate having pictures of me in uniform posted online, but there may have been having that little bit of knowledge that women perhaps like a man in uniform that I took advantage of there. But yes,
Mhm.
Well, I just saw on Vicky's Facebook the other day, she posted a picture of you at the Luke Combs concert in your uniform, saying how sexy you were. And hey,
Yes.
hey, don't think I didn't notice, Mark.
It does
All right.
work.
it's what we
Okay.
were
So
going for,
Vicky,
Tom.
there you go. Yes, well, you got it. All right. So Vicky, you get online, you see this amazing dating profile, and this guy in this cop uniform or whatever, but you meet this guy. He's a twice divorced cop who wasn't looking for marriage. He'd had his hoe phase. Maybe I don't know if he was still in it, but and you were married twice, only divorced once, so I can't blame you on for the second one. But there's some red flags between the two of you guys. Um, Tell me what attracted you to Mark, and how did you like put those red flags away? And by the way, I am a king at ignoring red flags, so this is not a criticism.
I'm very good at
It's
that also.
Initially, yes, you notice there are red flags. What I was interested in Mark, um, what drew me to him was the fact that he had spent after his two divorces and the second one primarily, he'd spent time alone. Yes, he was dating casually, but really contemplating and figuring things out for himself. He wasn't looking to rush into it because that to me would have been a deal breaker. Like if I was going to be wife number three, he was just rushing into it, looking for another repeat. I was going to head for the hills. And he made that very clear that he was not looking to get married. And that actually interested me. I thought, thank goodness, because you do not need to get married again. Like that was my mindset. Like you need to focus on you. And he absolutely was. Like he had been working on himself and fixing what was broken on the inside, giving himself that time to heal. And I thought, thank goodness somebody finally figured it out. They, and he did, and he was doing an amazing job being a single dad. prioritizing his kids, getting into fitness and health. And he had shown me his before and after pictures, which he was, a little heavier set, and he had lost a ton of weight and going back to the gym. And I thought, this is great. This is someone who's really focused on himself. And to me, that attracted me to him, because I want somebody who's whole, not someone who's broken. I'd already been there, done that. I myself at one time was broken, and I wanted somebody who was going to also match my energy and had already done the inner work.
So if I could just sum that up, basically, yeah, you saw the red flags, but the green flags outweighed them.
Yes, by far, because we all have our red flags. I'd had
Yes,
mine
we do.
previously, and I knew Mark had his, and we were very transparent with one another on the first date. Not trying to sugarcoat anything. We just laid it out there, and I appreciated and I respected him for that. So yeah, but the green flags definitely outweighed the red, because he had, like I said, taken the time to do that work, heal from his past, and just move forward.
That is great.
I don't blame you one bit. I've been dating for just about 5 years myself, and I've learned that if you eliminate everybody that has red flags, you're not ever going to go on a date. So
You'll never date.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna jump in real quick and say, one thing that would always make me laugh, that was actually a red flag for me, because here we are in our 40s in our cases, and saying that when I'd read profiles that would say, I don't want any drama.
Uh-huh.
You're single in your 40s with kids. You're drama.
You are
And
by
so I think
definition drama.
exactly. And so whenever I saw that on a profile of I don't want drama, that would almost be a red flag to me to recognize, no, what you're saying is you don't want to deal with things. So I'd come out, yeah, we're drama. I have 5 kids and 2 divorces. Vicky has 3 kids and 2 past relationships. We have drama.
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
always I made a video just a little a few months ago that people that are especially our age, I mean, you guys are kids, but people my age that say that they don't want drama, or they don't have drama, or whatever. I always say it's everybody has baggage, but you can't find someone without baggage. You got to find someone with compatible baggage. And
I agree with that.
I mean, because like Pam just said, if you're looking for no drama, you're going to be looking for a long, long time. So I'm glad you guys found the compatible baggage. So I'm going to ask the same quick question of Mark. So you meet this lady, two marriages, 3 kids, probably insanely independent. I not to say, Vicky, that you're not feminine or anything, but you had to become a badass to go through what you went through. So I'm just assuming, I didn't know you, but I'm assuming that you were an independent woman. So Mark, you meet her. What was the attraction?
So funny you should bring it up like that, because that's really what became the attraction. Um, I dated several women, even had some relationships with women who had kids and prior divorces. And they were very, very good at being independent, as I had become. Too much to the point to where they're not going to really allow somebody else into their life. And I could understand that. When you've been burned a couple times by marriage, you're hesitant. I was the same way. So what immediately was different with Vicky is she still had that same spirit, energy, independence, and ability to run her life. Here she is with 3 kids, and she's got it locked down, but yet she leaned into something that I had not seen in quite a long time. Something that almost brought back some memories of maybe Mormonism, but in a healthy way. Yeah, in a healthy way. So
That's
Mormonism,
hard to imagine.
yeah, Mormonism forces men and women into very specific roles and to abide by those roles. With Vicky, she leaned into it just out of, she naturally would lean into her femininity, but still still have that other side of where she can handle things. And what I meant by that is she she loved taking care of me, I guess. She loved being able to do something for me because she wanted me to feel good or to make me feel special. And that was immediately evident by our second date. It was right near my birthday, and she made a huge deal about wanting to celebrate my birthday and really did go out to make sure it was something special for me. And that really hit me like, okay, here's someone who likes to really lean into that role of, I want to make sure I'm making you emotionally feel safe and taken care of, while still handling her stuff as I put it, as a boss babe. Sometimes you could see where one leans too much into one role or the other, and they'll sacrifice the other to promote the one. You can have both, and she was the first woman I found that had both. She wasn't leaning into her femininity because a religion told her to, or because family expected that. She was leaning into it because that's her. And then she was running her life, raising kids, being a boss at work, doing all of that, not because again it was expected to, but that's who she is. And so that's what really drew me into her. That was different than anybody I'd ever met. Is that she's leaning
That's a
into it.
beautiful story.
That
Yeah,
is.
and uh, it really just took my breath away, and I knew I had to go more with this. And as we started dating, like I said initially, and funny, it even turned into a bit of a debate with us when I said, "No, I don't want to get married. We can be together. We can be together the rest of our lives, but I don't want to get married."
I remember
And
that.
yep, and for Vicky, it was a big deal, and it eventually became a big deal to me as well. And it wasn't because I just capitulated and said, "Fine, it's just a stupid piece of paper. Let's go get it." No, it actually became to mean something for me because finally, this is something we're doing for us. Again, we're not getting married out of religious obligations or family pressure. We're doing it for us, and it truly feels different than anything I've had before because it's finally for me. This is for us.
That's
She
great.
changed your mind, and that's great. So let me ask you guys a question. You've both been through a lot of shit at this point in life. What's the one piece of advice that you would like to share with everyone? And you can each tell us what that piece of advice would be.
I'll
Vicky,
go
why don't
ahead
you
and
go first?
yeah, I'll go ahead and start. I would definitely say, it doesn't matter what brought you here. If you're looking for love and you're looking to start that next chapter, whether it's through loss, the loss of a loved one, loss of a spouse, partner, or perhaps even divorce. It's the same feel emotions as death practically.
Yep.
Take the time for yourself to heal and take care of yourself, because if you don't take that time to really mend what's inside, what's broken, it's not going to heal on its own, and you're just going to carry that over into the next relationship and the next relationship, and you're always going to be just unhappy because you haven't connected those pieces back together. And so you have to do that first for you. For some people, they can do it on a quick time scale. Other people, it may take longer. So don't put yourself in a box and say, well, I have to do this within the next year. There's no time constraint. But just make that a priority and really take that time to heal before moving forward into another relationship.
I agree with you 100%. Mark, what's your one piece of advice?
Well, it's going to be really similar along the same lines, Pam. Me taking that time to just really discover myself, and in that journey, really just getting out there and experiencing things. One of the greatest things I did for myself was a vacation by myself.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
it was fantastic. It was just a road trip, but I love road trips. And it was great. I drove, I did a road trip, and I drove into just random small towns, and I met people, and it was fantastic. And that's just part of that journey of really learning who you are. And the way you learn who you are is probably going to be different for everybody. But I can say, sitting alone and not experiencing life probably isn't going to be the best way to experience life. And whatever that looks like for you,
Amen to that.
yeah, is going to be different for everybody. And if that means you got to go out and you got to date a bit, go out and date a bit. If it means you just have to break away from it and spend time by yourself, and whatever it is, do that and embrace it, lean into it. You'll
Stay
discover so
open to
much about yourself.
possibility.
Yep.
Yeah. That's great advice. I'm actually, I asked a similar question at the end of every episode of My Crazy Divorce, and I don't remember most of them. Honestly, I apologize to all of my past guests, but there are two of them that I remember. One of them was JD McCabe, the guy who wrote The Third Gift, when his wife tried to kill him with arsenic and everything. And the other one
still
was the one you
follow him,
gave,
so.
Mark. He's great, isn't he?
Yep.
Mark, the other one is the one that you gave. Do you remember what advice you gave?
Now you're making me think back to the end of that podcast. Refresh my mind there, Tom.
It was find your peace and don't let anyone destroy it or even disturb it.
Oh,
Amen. I love
that's
that.
right.
And
Yeah, and Vicky
Protected.
adds to my piece. She adds to my. I do remember that, and
Yep.
Vicky adds to my piece.
And I remember you said, I said, does your girlfriend? I think I called her your girlfriend at the time. Does your girlfriend add to your piece? And you said, and these are the words you used. She's special. And
Aw.
I literally choked up a little bit when you said that. And so I'm so happy for you guys. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Pam.
And you know what? Thank you for your great advice. Thank you for coming on the show and giving us an update. I'll see you guys in September for sure. And then we'll have you back on the show when your second kid is born.
Oh, that's a challenge. I heard a challenge.
If by kid you mean cat, then okay.
Yeah. We plan
Have a
on
beau-
adopting a new kitten, so
There you go.
Have a beautiful
right.
wedding.
thank you.
Thanks for
And
being
there
here,
is
you
a
guys.
there is a +1 on that invitation, Tom. Just saying.
Oh,
Yes, Pam, please come.
Bear that in mind.
yeah, that'd be funny. Thanks, guys.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, that was fantastic. I'm so happy for Mark and Vicky. I just wish them all the best.
Yeah, it was super nice getting to hear their story from start to finish.
And I'll tell you, the advice that they gave to wait. It's not just about waiting. It's not just about passing the time before you meet somebody. It's also about doing the work to heal. When I got divorced 5 years ago, I had several friends. One of them, Brian, actually knows. Goes by J-Lo. He said, Tom, no matter what you do, wait at least a year before you even go on your first date.
I've
You
heard
need
you
a
say that
year.
before.
And I didn't follow that advice. And I wish I had. I really do. Now, a couple of years later, when shit hit the fan in a relationship, I packed up and moved to Florida and didn't date for almost a full year. So I kind of did it, but I delayed it.
So you really took that advice the second time around. And I've heard you talk about that in the past, and I'm not a huge believer in the fact that you need to wait at least a year. I actually kind of feel the opposite. I think that you need to always be open to whatever comes your way, because otherwise you could meet somebody who's truly fantastic and might be, I don't know, for all you know, it's your soulmate. And you're like, I'm sorry, we can't go out because I have to wait a year. So I'm on the opposite side of the fence on that particular thing. But I think
we're both single.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, that's very true. We're waiting forever, 4.5 years. We're waiting for unicorns to jump into our backyards or something.
Exactly.
Like that.
So
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go.
I was going to say one of the things I like the best about their story was the fact that they met on Facebook dating, because Facebook dating for me has been the absolute worst dating app I've ever experienced in my life. I mean, quite honestly, I go on there just to laugh. They never live in the same state. They're always under 5'8", and no offense to short men, but I'm 5'11". So I like to date men that are 5'11". Facebook dating could not give a shit what you're looking for. All they're going to do is throw all the men that have ever seen your picture and liked it at you. And so for me, the fact that they met on Facebook dating, they probably are soulmates.
I'm just
Well,
gonna laugh over here in 6'5".
yeah.
Yeah, well, I love that video.
So Mark and Vicky, they met on Facebook dating. I just put up a video on TikTok on our Talking Phase podcast channel, or page, whatever you call it, about a crazy date that I went on a few weeks ago that I met her on Facebook dating. So
Oh God, see, I'm telling you, don't use that app. There's so many good apps. Facebook dating is just the dredge.
yes, but you just said you don't want to miss your soulmate, and they found each other on Facebook dating. So you want to
I
be
know.
open to everything.
I guess.
You
Except
got to
for
be
Facebook
open,
dating. No.
except for
No.
Facebook dating.
No. I've been single for 4 years. That was the first dating app I signed up for because I was like, oh, it's Facebook. I'll do that. But let me tell you, 4 years later, and more than a handful of bad dates, and mostly just laughing.
That's the
Sorry.
first one I signed up for. Well, not the first one, but the first one that I signed up for after my year hiatus because it was free.
Oh, see, I don't know. I guess I also kind of lean towards the apps where the men have to pay. And lately the women have to pay also. There's no free lunch, so to
There's no
speak,
free lunch.
on dating.
Well, one of the things that I really liked that they said that and they said basically don't get married for someone else or for any other reason than yourself. They were putting in the religious context and stuff like that. But I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever told this story here. Well, not on this show for sure, but I don't think I've ever told this story in public. When I was 24 years old or 23 years old, and so that was an old person in Utah that hadn't gotten married, and I met this girl. My first turns out to be my first wife, and I wasn't sure. I really liked her, and I knew that I wanted to be with her, but I just wasn't 100% sure. And I brought her home to meet my parents, and my mom approved.
Uh-oh.
Uh-huh. First girl my mom ever approved of that I had ever brought home. And she just fell in love with this woman. And she's a great lady. I have nothing bad to say about my first wife. But my mom approved. And so I went, oh shit, I kind of have no choice. And I'm not blaming my parents for my stupid mistakes, but it was one of those things where I went, oh, my mom likes her. I guess I have to marry her. And we were married like 4 months later.
You Mormons. You
Oh,
guys
yeah.
you guys move so fast. I cannot even imagine that.
I know it's dumb.
But I
whatever.
moved slower and my marriages didn't work either. So again, two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no tested true way to know that the person that you're dating or even living with is going to be the same person after you marry them or once you're living with them or in 10 years, because people change, and that's a fact.
Yeah. And so for those, by the way, who did go back and listen to the episode of My Crazy Divorce, there was a lot more talk about religion. And obviously there was some talk about religion here today, but there was something else that popped into my head. And anybody who's been in a religion, at least Christianity, I'm not as familiar with some of the others, but I assume they're similar, that you're not supposed to have sex before marriage. That's kind of a sin, according to most religion.
Do any religions follow that?
Mormons.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
No, yeah. And so, but it's a sin whether you follow it or not. There are a lot of things that are sins that people still do.
That's very true.
But it's the only sin that ceases to be a sin just because you got married or anything else. There is no other sin that is a sin one day and then it's not the next. A sin is a sin is a sin, except for sex. So anyway, I've always just found that really interesting.
It's something, I'll tell you that.
Sounds like a cool loophole if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly.
Well, and the reason
better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
The reason I think it's so crazy is that we spend, at least again in my Mormon experience, I spent my entire childhood and adolescence being told that sex is just horrible. You should never do this. You're gonna hate yourself if you do it. Save yourself for marriage. And then all of a sudden I get married and it's now you're supposed to.
Oh, wow.
And it's a weird psychological twist.
And it's effective, seemingly.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, because it forces you to want to get married. That's the
I
thing.
I am I used to be, I was brought up, I should say, Jewish, and I now lean heavily into being agnostic. But I'm also grateful that we didn't have any rules like that. We had no sex rules. You could do it whenever you wanted to.
Really?
Yeah, and we did.
Oh, also, I think I need to convert to Judaism, but
Well, I mean, it's just a loophole. I mean, I guess it's just, some religions take those things much more seriously than other religions. Hey, there are religions, probably Mormonism, where the whole purpose in sex is just to have kids. It's
Mormonism.
not for enjoyment.
Yeah,
So what do people
exactly.
do post menopause? Women I guess, should just stop having sex because there's no longer a purpose in it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I
And a
think
lot
it's
of women
crazy.
do stop, and then they get divorced.
All right, so I have a quick question for you before we call it a day. Mark
Okay.
just talked about his dating profile. He researched it, and we didn't spend a lot of time talking about the fact that he's a police officer and a detective and all that. So he spends a lot of time investigating these profiles and understanding what women wrote, and so he wrote the perfect
Yes.
profile. Describe the perfect dating profile for Pam.
Okay. Well, I've only read 1,000,000 of them. Um, the profiles that appeal to me are profiles that give out all of the information that the app asks for, as opposed to just skipping it. Don't skip the height. Don't skip the political part. Don't skip. I can't speak. Don't
First day
skip
with the
the
new mouth. Got it.
Wow, don't skip religion. Don't skip whether you want kids, don't want kids, whether you've been married or divorced. So the first thing I look for is that somebody answers all those questions. And the second thing I look for is some humor. If you take yourself too seriously on a dating app, you are not somebody that I want to go on a date with. That doesn't mean they can't say who they are, but add some humor to your dating app. Don't tell a bad dad joke, but say something that makes fun of yourself. Like, I'd like to take you roller skating on our first date, but I guarantee you I'd spend more time on my ass than on my feet. Something along the lines of who you are as a human being. That's what I look for in a dating app profile. And if there's none of that there, no matter how good looking they are, it's an automatic swipe left. And if there's a lot of that there, and maybe they're not my type, or normally I wouldn't find that person attractive, I really think it over and I'll read it 2 or 3 times and then most of the time swipe right and just see where it goes.
Huh. That's well, okay. That's good to know.
Honest facts and humor is what I
Okay.
look for.
And fish pictures, hunting pictures, does that play a role for you?
Automatic left swipe.
Okay.
And not because they fish or hunt, just because if you think that women like those pictures, you're probably not somebody I want to go on a date with.
Yeah. I was talking to my brother a few weeks ago, and he's never been on a dating site. He's been married for 1,000 years, and he we were talking about dating profiles for some reason, and I told him that I see all these dating profiles where women they're skydiving and running marathons and bicycling and traveling and all this. And I'm like, that all looks fun, but I sometimes I just want to stay home and watch Netflix. Where's a picture of you sitting on the couch?
And I
I'm
see that too.
tired looking at your profile.
Yeah. And honestly, I find those men very intimidating.
Yeah. Well, it's
If
not
you
intimidating for me. It's like
a turn off.
yeah, it turns me off. I mean, I want to do those things too, but I also want to sit down and watch Game of Thrones. I
Right.
mean, there's a medium, there's a happy medium there.
You would love my dating profile.
Oh, send it to me. I'd like to see it.
I'm definitely gonna send it to you so you can see.
All right. Well, let's call it a show. Everybody who's on the show with us right now, thank you so much for listening. If you guys out there want to be a guest on the Talking Phase podcast, we would love to hear your story. Send us an email to talkingphase@gmail.com. Just slide right into our DMs. And also, you don't have to be a guest if you don't want to. If you have a question or you have a funny story you'd like us to talk about, make fun of, respond to, if you have some advice, I don't know why you want to ask us advice, but
Ask
hey,
us, please ask us.
if you do, we'd love to hear from you. Talkingphase@gmail.com. In the meantime, please take just a minute while you're listening. Hopefully, if you've made it this far, it's because you like what we've had to say and the guests that we've had today. Take a minute to rate and review the show. The podcast algorithmic gods will love you forever and will help move our show up in the charts. Please share this with your friends and family, and then don't miss an episode. We drop every Friday morning. And with that, Pam,
Have
anything
a great
else?
night. No.
Have a great day,
that's it.
everybody.
Have a day, night.
Pam and Tom signing off.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.